There is a particular moment narcissists dread more than any other. Not the moment you cry, not the moment you confront them, not even the moment you leave. Those moments they have scripts for. Those moments still place you in relationship to them, reactive, emotional, present in the way that confirms their relevance. Those moments, however painful for you, are manageable for them because you are still responding, still moved, still within reach. The moment they dread is quieter than any of those. It is the moment they realize that something fundamental has changed in you. That the architecture they learn to navigate, your guilt, your empathy, your deep need to be understood by the people you love, has been rebuilt. That the entry points they relied on have closed, not slammed shut in anger, which would still be something to work with, but sealed from the inside with a steadiness that has no heat in it and therefore no handle. That moment is when the narcissist's real behavior begins. Carl Jung spent his career studying what he called the will to power, the drive in certain psychological configurations to maintain dominance over others, not as a conscious strategy, but as a survival mechanism. What he found was that individuals who have constructed their entire sense of self around their ability to control the emotional reality of those closest to them do not respond to losing that control with acceptance. They respond with escalation, with creativity, with a systematic attempt to find any remaining opening in the person who has become to them suddenly and threateningly opaque. Understanding what that escalation looks like is not paranoia. It is the final piece of protection the healed empath needs. Because the tactics deployed against a person who can no longer be reached emotionally are different from the tactics that worked before, more sophisticated in some ways, more desperate in others, and recognizable once named from a distance that makes them harmless. The first thing a narcissist does when they realize the empath has become untouchable is attempt to recreate the original wound. They go back to the beginning, to the earliest, most tender version of the dynamic between you, to the language of the person you first met, warm, perceptive, attuned in the specific way that felt at the time like finally being seen. This is not accidental. The narcissist, consciously or not, understands that the healed empath has closed the doors that were opened during the erosion phase. The gaslighting, the criticism, the chronic invalidation is that the earlier door, the one opened during the idealization phase, might still be ajar. They remember what made you trust them, the specific way they reflected you back to yourself, the particular things they said that landed in the part of you that had spent years feeling invisible. And they reproduce it, not approximately, precisely, with the accuracy of someone who studied you when you were still open enough to be studied. Jung called this the return of the persona, the mask reassuming the shape it wore before it slipped. And it can be disorienting even for an empath who knows exactly what they are looking at. Because the persona, when well constructed, does not feel like a mask, it feels like a person. The protection is not cynicism, it is the body's record. The healed empath who has done the work of integration carries in their nervous system something no performance can override: the accumulated somatic memory of what this person's presence actually cost. Not what it said, what it cost. And the body, once educated, does not forget. When the recreation of the original warmth fails, when the empath receives it without being moved by it, responds politely without being reopened, the narcissist moves to the second tactic. They attempt to make you responsible for their suffering. This is the most psychologically sophisticated tool in the narcissist's repertoire, and it is aimed with precision at the specific vulnerability of the empathic personality. Because empaths do not simply feel their own pain. They feel the pain of others in their body as though it were their own. And the narcissist, who has observed this for however long the relationship lasted, knows exactly how to perform suffering in the frequency the empath is most attuned to. They do not necessarily become dramatic. Sometimes the performance is very quiet, a decline in energy in your presence, a heaviness that didn't used to be there, mentions, casual and repeated, of how they are struggling, how things have been hard, how they are not doing well. What this is designed to produce is the empath's oldest reflex, the one installed in childhood, the one that says someone near me is in pain and I am responsible for addressing it. The one that was never really about love and was always about survival. The narcissist is not appealing to your caring nature. They are appealing to your wound, to the part of you that learned, long before they arrived, that other people's emotional states were your jurisdiction. The healed empath recognizes this because they have done the work the previous scripts described. They have located the childhood wound that made this reflex necessary. They have sat with it. They have begun to separate their genuine compassion, which is real and generous and worth protecting, from the compulsive caregiving that was never compassion at all, but fear in a more socially acceptable form. And from that place of separation, the narcissists performed suffering registers differently, not as a call to respond, but as information, as confirmation of something the empath already knows and no longer needs to argue with. When the performance of suffering fails to reopen the empath, the third tactic arrives, and it is the most revealing one, because it is the one that drops all pretense. The narcissist attempts to recruit the world against you. Jung identified this as the shadow in full operation, the parts of the psyche that cannot be integrated being projected outward onto others, then organized into a narrative that makes the projection coherent. The narcissist who cannot reach you directly reaches instead for the people around you, family members who remember you differently, mutual friends who only have one side of the story, colleagues, acquaintances, anyone whose opinion of you could be shaped and then used as leverage. The stories they tell are recognizable in their structure. In every version, the narcissist is the one who tried, who was patient, forgiving, generous beyond what was fair. And you, the healed, untouchable empath, who has quietly withdrawn from a dynamic that was costing you everything, become, in their telling, the aggressor, the cold one, the one who changed and blamed everyone else for the change. The purpose of this campaign is not really to convince others, though that is a secondary benefit. The primary purpose is to reach you through the voices of people you care about, to reconstruct, through external pressure, the emotional environment that used to make you doubt yourself, to recreate the experience of being outnumbered in a way that previously sent you back to the narcissist for resolution. The healed empath's response to this is the thing that most confounds the narcissist's expectations. They do not defend themselves to every person recruited into the narrative. They do not chase down the stories and correct them one by one. They do not produce evidence, make arguments, or seek the vindication of being publicly understood. They let the narrative exist, not out of indifference to how they are perceived, that tenderness does not fully disappear and it does not need to, but out of the hard-won understanding that the people who matter, who have actually witnessed them over time, do not require a defense. And the people who believe the narrative without question were never in their corner in any meaningful sense. Jung would call this the mature ego, secure enough in its own perception of itself that it does not require the external world to mirror that perception back in order to maintain it. The empath who has individuated does not need to be understood by people who were never trying to understand them. There is a final tactic, the one that comes last after the warmth has failed and the suffering has failed and the social campaign has failed. The one that reveals more clearly than anything else the essential fragility underneath the narcissist's construction. They become small, not in the genuine way that precedes real change, but in the performed way that precedes a last attempt. They minimize themselves, their needs, their history, their grievances. They present a version of themselves that seems to have let go of everything, that seems to want nothing, that appears from a certain angle like the person you might have stayed for if they had shown up this way from the beginning. And what they are watching for in this final performance is any softening, any evidence that the empath's heart, which was always the most accessible part of them, remains accessible. Any indication that underneath the steadiness, there is still the person who could be moved by the sight of someone struggling. The healed empath feels something in this moment. That is not in question. The capacity to feel was never removed. It was reclaimed, redirected, made conscious. What they do not feel is the compulsion to act on it. They can witness the smallness without being pulled toward it, can recognize the performance without needing to expose it, can feel, if it is present, a genuine and uncomplicated sadness for a person whose only access to connection was through control, and then let that sadness move through them without becoming a reason to return. Jung believed that the highest form of psychological development was not the absence of feeling, but the freedom of it. The capacity to feel fully without being governed by what you feel, to let emotion inform you without letting it decide for you. You have become something the narcissist cannot categorize. You are not cold. Coldness can be warmed. You are not angry. Anger can be appeased. You are not shut down. Shut down can be reopened with the right kind of patience. You are simply no longer available in the way you once were. Not as punishment, not as strategy, but as the natural outcome of a self that has returned to itself and found, in that return, that it no longer needs what the narcissist was offering in exchange for what they were taking. This is what untouchable actually means. Not imperviousness, not armor. The complete absence of the wound they were counting on. Jung would tell you that this is not the end of your capacity to love. It is the beginning of your capacity to love without losing yourself in the process. To remain fully feeling and fully sovereign simultaneously. The narcissist will try what they try. They will work through their repertoire with the dedication of someone who has never had to develop any other skill, and you will watch it. From a place of clarity that requires no effort to maintain because it is not a position you are holding. It is simply who you have become,